Alrighty, everyone. Hello, hello, and welcome back to this episode of the Designer's Den. I am super excited today to have on as my guest B, who
Hi.
who is super excited to be here too, uh, and who is the co-creator for the World of Wyldrvir, which we're going to talk at length about. But I'm going to let B introduce himself first. B, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So hello everyone. I'm B. I'm 21 years old. I've been working on TTRPG stuff for about 2, 3 years. Depends on who you ask, I guess. And on top of that, I'm in college. I study communications and I just like writing.
Yeah, well, that's already a lot. Just existing and being in college. I did that. We won't talk about how many years ago that was, but
No, no, it's fine.
um, it's very excited to have you here today to chat a little bit about your game. Before we get into all of that, though, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the back history, how you got into gaming and all of that. And along with that, I want to go ahead and for people who are interested in a different kind of game, encourage you to first off check out the world of Wyldrvir, and second off, want to go ahead and start the giveaway that we've been promoting for the new D&D book, The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which is a little bit different from all of the current adventures that are out there. So, pretty excited to give everyone
It
the
looks really cool.
yeah, pretty excited to give everyone the opportunity to pick that up today. I know that you know money it gets tight. So if I can find the button, there it is. The button, the giveaway has started, so you'll be able to enter that at any point, and by about the end of it, we should be picking. So, if you show up late, don't worry about it. Of course, if you show up late, you won't have that. So, that said,
Mm,
B, how
yes.
yeah, you're 21. How do young people get into D&D and other RPGs these days?
Uh,
I
so
I feel old saying that. I mean, I guess it's a lot easier now, though.
it is a lot easier in some ways and it is harder in others, I think.
Okay.
Because I definitely got into it through watching other shows of
Hmm.
people playing D&D. A lot of people will point to Critical Role. Mine was the Adventure Zone. Because I got in that because I watched YouTube bits, like clips of my brother and me, which
Hmm.
got me into watching the whole episode and learning what a podcast was. And then somehow, some way, that whole trail led me into the Adventure Zone, and I didn't look back. My friend from high school, who was a year behind me, got into it like the same time I did. So I had someone who would like watch the episodes with me, and like we'd bounce theories off of each other. It was really nice. And he was my first DM. He started a campaign around February of like 2018 as my birthday gift.
Hmm.
So that was our I had the luck that the my first play group was my high school improv team.
Oh,
So
nice.
it was
Yeah.
all people who the acting part of it was something they wanted to do. Um, Obviously, when we all moved off to college, things changed for the group, and I around there I still kept wanting to do D&D stuff, but I didn't have people to do it with.
Right.
And then that's when I kind of got more into the community online. Kind of dragged some other friends I'd made along the way in, and started a 5e show called the Frostwalkers. We completed that campaign like 2 years ago now,
Okay.
and somewhere in that
Completed a
whole
campaign. Ooh, gosh, people do that?
yeah, I, it was 56 episodes, so I kept it brief. um,
Oh,
yeah, it was not easy to
no.
finish it, but I'm really proud of the fact that me and my friends got it done and told a complete story. Uh, and then that summer, the summer campaign one ended. I remember that the DM hat was being moved to a different person. I was totally cool with that. It was super fun. I was excited to play a character, you
Hmm.
know? Um, but I remember going from every week having the next episode of the show to think about and build in my head for that next recording, to nothing, having nothing to do, in the space. and that same creative itch wasn't being scratched anymore after a year
Right.
of constantly building and thinking about a world. uh, that I remember just kind of sitting at my computer sometimes being like, what am I doing? What do I do? What do I do? And to avoid writing more one shots for that world, that way we would never end up playing the second campaign, and I would just keep making more one shots. I was like, I need to work on something else.
Right.
And that plus a uh, plus a one night 2 a.m. conversation with my best friend now Juno led to the creation of Wyldrvir.
Yeah. So I mean, the same problem that have is that you're a creative person and you are allowed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And well, that can't be a thing. So,
Absolutely
so,
not.
so you found a thing to occupy yourself, which I mean, whew, boy, I know how that goes. So, came up with the world of Wyldrvir, which I'm gonna pop up the cover of that here because it is absolutely adorable. First off, art. And you've got some wonderful art here. I believe the art was done by Krova, your co-creator, correct?
Yes,
All right.
yes, that's yep. Crow is the person who had that initial 2 a.m. conversation with me. They've been part of the project since day one. They're my better half when it comes to everything Wildermere.
Yeah, I mean, and it's always nice to have someone um partner with on something like this, to kind of bounce off those ideas to figure out like, all right, I have this idea and it's really just like out there. Hear me out, and help me make this work.
Exactly, exactly.
So, you know, for those who aren't as familiar with it or aren't familiar at all, with the little short blurb on it that I've been um is that it is a combatless RPG that is narrative driven, very focused on those player stories. And, that's something that, especially people who are coming in from having just watched stuff like Critical Role, The Adventure Zone, or any of the other myriad options of
Mm-hmm.
streaming games available, like one thing that you notice in all of those, combat is not a focus.
It's not.
And, like, that's okay.
It is.
Versus if you open up a D&D book and you look at any of the classes, the first thing that you notice is they tell you how to do combat,
Yes.
which is also isn't a bad thing.
No,
Like
no, it's
um, everyone's got their cup of tea, but I think it's absolutely great to have that is specifically focused on telling those stories like collaboratively, and obviously having started from that background of watching people play and then coming and doing your own actual play, you had pretty extensive knowledge with that, and of how much just like honest to God fun it is.
yeah.
Um, so um, you know, before we get much further into that, like why don't you kind of walk us through what exactly the world of I know you've got a little video, but I didn't cue the video, so you're
That's
gonna have
okay.
to.
No, that's fine. So Wilderveer is the best way I've ever stumbled into describing it. And I've used it ever since because it's my favorite way of accidentally improv explaining the world. Um, is every fantasy world and every fantasy story ends with in most campaigns, ends with the concept of a safe world. The
Mhm,
day is saved, the big bad evil guy is defeated, happily ever after. That archetypical 3 words.
mhm.
But very few stories go into what does happily ever after
Look
look like.
like.
Yeah. What is a safe world built up to be? What is there to do in a world without a big bad evil guy? What is there to discover and explore? And Wildrevere started with that. There's no bad guys that we that we write officially. There's no
You can
uh
always.
yeah, you can always do whatever you want. But the world is safe for the most part, and everyone around in these societies are working towards the betterment of everyone else.
Mhm.
Um, and so that leaves the question of what is there to do in a world like this? And that's what we got to dig into when writing this project. And that was really fun. Um, specifically, this is a world where magic came about 2 generations ago. It Yes, and the awakening is what it's called, is what made the once very typical medieval world that Wyldrvir resided in into this hodgepodge it is now. People remember their days that their great uncle went from being a human to like a sun elf because the magic of the world is nature based. It's all very
Okay.
connected to nature, and uh, I'm kind of a magic nerd, so I kind of like thinking about like the way that they handle mana and ley lines, kind of thing. Um,
Yes.
mhm.
And
So,
I love
mhm.
thinking of all magic as having like a color.
Yes, exactly. Um, so Wyldrvir is a very green world. It is a very nature-based civilization. Even if magic seems to not tie to nature, it somehow does through the world soul. Um, as a result of that, one of the big powers that nature has in our world is the ability to adapt.
Hmm.
And so a lot of the fantasy races in Wyldrvir are rapid adaptations of humanity to survive in extreme environments.
Right?
So the moon elves and Moon Eidolon you'll find were once humans who lived by the sea, but now they look like your D&D Triton, they look like your merfolk to better survive in these sea folk villages.
I kind of like the idea that magic had this like sudden physiological change. It kind of makes me think a little bit of the Shadowrun event when like everyone suddenly into orcs and goblins, goblinization.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's a very critical part of that world is that like all of a sudden there was this big change. And like that really affects the way people view one another. Is that kind of like the same thing here? Like all of a sudden like your neighbors didn't look the same.
So Shadowrun
I
was
know it's
actually going.
entirely different, yeah.
Oh no, but no. The funny thing about it is, someone told me about that when I was writing this, and I was like, "Oh, that's fun." When I ever get the chance to play it, I'll be excited to see the differences. It's one of those games that's been like I own it. It's in my drawer. It's on my
Uh,
list. It's like it's one of those games, you know.
I know a lot
Uh,
about the lore. I've never played it either.
yeah, yeah. So the thing with Wyldrvir is the core statements of it when me and Crow were working on it were we wanted to build a place that at its core was safe
Right.
in every extent of the word. And so while the races are different, uh, because it all kind of happened at the same time, everyone kind of knows their common ancestry.
Right.
Everyone is aware of their common, like, I guess,
And it's not been that long past. It's like you said,
no,
like it would have
couple
been like
generations.
your grandmother.
Exactly right. And so while there are populaces of these fantasy races, because it was so recent, the city states are so intermingled. They're like anyone can live anywhere, even though the adaptations were meant for certain areas of the world. Uh, the there's not really a lot of conflict between the different fantasy races.
Right.
Their borders are all open. Everyone is welcome to travel. Uh, if you see a group of friends, they're gonna dot the spectrum of the World of your races. There aren't a lot of settlements that are one race only.
And no, I wouldn't really kind of expect that. Is that it's a more harmonious thing, kind of more akin to fairy tale setting,
Exactly.
where you are experiencing those happy ever afters, but like even in a typical like Disney fairy tale, and they lived happy ever to the end. Like
Right.
I mean, we rarely get to see like what that was like, unless like you about some of the in betweens before the big bad evil queen or whatever shows up. Like
Right. Right.
Snow White was living happily in the
Mm-hmm.
forest
Right.
with her dwarves, and if everyone would have just left her alone, honestly, she would have been fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And World of War's a world where she would have been left alone and
Yeah,
just had a good time.
yeah, and if
Uh,
she wanted to find, fine.
yeah, actively have sought that out. Yeah. And actively seeking out is actually the big theme of the world too. Uh, Everyone in Wyldrvir, the name for your party are travelers.
Okay,
Uh, in the world, in the world, there were 6 city states. There are 6 city states, and each of them are led by uh, these different. They don't really have a set name. They don't really go by anything. They're just the leaders. But when they were young, they circumnavigated the island. Wyldrvir is a huge, massive archipelago, and the main island is where the core book takes place on. And they saw it all. Went to every city state, explored everything when they were kids, and that made those six people become best friends. And you know,
And and
uh,
and the core book for anyone who hasn't like picked up and everything. It's a very rule light thing. It's pages, including all the beautiful art. So, it's easy to pick it up and to like kind of dive right into a story where you're traveling about, seeing this place, you're meeting people, and you're figuring out like what exactly it is that your travelers want to do. Like what are their goals and aspirations? Like there's no we made in a tavern and we figure out what the problem is nearby.
right.
You just dive right into getting these friendships, which is kind of beautiful.
Yeah. And because the six city state leaders are best friends, they're the ones who, when they all ended up leading, became like hell bent on we need to give the next generation what we had.
Yes.
And so the journey throughout the six city states is sort of like it's a lot like the Pokemon journey in like every Pokemon game ever. You go around, you see the places, do the things, and you're rewarded at the end with a big celebration.
Hmm.
Um, and so for a lot of players, that's kind of the hook is traveling is the reward. Seeing the city states
Yeah.
and
The journey is the adventure.
yeah, exactly. Uh,
And really like even though it's a small book, like you still have enough about each of these city states to kind of give you a really good solid grasp of like what's going on in an area, what makes it unique, what makes it enticing. You've even got you've got attributes that you can roll up, you've got story prompts, you've got like your summary of each city state, and you do a really great job of just kind of building out like, all right, so you're going to Inoven, and Inoven is the technological city state. So like, here's where you're gonna marvel at the wonders, technology that they've developed here, and see how they've integrated that in with new magic. Um, and for someone who's got a character not from there, you're just like mind blown.
right, exactly. Every place has its own strengths, has its own like unique thing that they bring to the world, and also their own favored style of magic.
Mhm. That
So
makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense. So the 60 states, work in harmony. Why don't we take a second to kind of briefly go through them? As I mentioned, Inomen is the land built with the most technological advances, but again, still has that focus on nature in mind. Lots of beautiful green space, not only in the streets but in the buildings, and it's the biggest city for humans, halflings, and changelings. But it's also the birthplace of the created, which I'll let you get to that in a sec. Um, and then the next one,
Oh,
yes. Why don't you? We'll just trade off here. I don't want to. I don't
yeah,
want to read them
no,
all.
you're good. Oa is the wind city state. That is the air magic. That's where you're gonna find the sky elves. They have adapted rapidly to get wings, so they're built very vertically. Plateaus, very deserty, kind of like Colorado desert.
Oh,
One
it
of its
was Red Rocks. That was the
that
inspiration.
was Red Rock. Yep. My Crow actually lives really close to Red Rock. So when the Stardust Amphitheater was becoming a thing, they were like, it has to be based on Red Rock. It has to be. And they like sent me art and images of Red Rock. And I was like, oh, that's
Actually,
awesome. Yeah. And hmm,
yeah, for anyone who's never been to Red Rock in Colorado, it's just outside of Denver, it is an amphitheater actually built into the plateau. It's beautifully enmeshed with like the nature around it. It's inside of like a park, I think. And state parks in Colorado are just nothing but sort of breathtaking. And it's built into the plateau, but like the acoustics of it are so good. If you get a chance, see a concert there.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
but so that's and then you have Cinder, which,
Yes.
you know, a bit more of a hostile environment, kind of in um, not generally somewhere that people like, oh, I just want to go and live there. It's hot, fire,
Yes.
fire. Um, so, they've kind of adapted and innovated. They've created, special cooling systems, means traveling speedily so that you eat as they're walking about. And one of the cool things, volcano with an observation station on its summit. Um, and as they've had to do all this innovation and everything, their big draws is like they have a rich wealth of academia, museums, research outpace science, and um, that's really the draw there. Like going on in such a harsh climate that it's forced them to really kind of think outside of the box and really dive into like why are things,
Hmm.
which is always an important question.
Right.
Why?
And
It's it's one of the first questions we learn, right?
yeah, and it's an important question to ask in a world that's safe. You don't have to worry about things like building weaponry and stuff anymore. Now you get to think a little deeper about what you make and why you make it.
Yeah, you know, like why are we using forest to cut it down? Like why can't we come up with something better, something less harmful? Yeah, they have the opportunity to do. And then we have Torin.
Yes, Torin is everything Innovin is not. Torin is the city of the world soul. It is a little bit based on like the dense forests in like Oregon and like kind of bordering into
It's the
like it's the Pacific Northwest, and it's a beautiful place. There's a lot of green. There's a lot of farm towns in Torin, um, and it's the place where people believe the world's soul resides, which
Mhm.
is the bed of magic. Um, so that place has, besides just being close to nature, there is this other draw of the arcane and the mysteriousness of the progenitor of magic is possibly somewhere in these woodlands, in these forests. And you know if you go digging far enough, who knows what you'll find.
right. And you find anything like magic is at its most potent there.
Hmm.
Then you have Maritol, which is very much it's an island surrounded by water, so water magic is really cool. Uh, some of the buildings are above the level of ground, but the best and the coolest innovations in Maritol are below the water. Um, Buildings made from coral structure. People come from all over to spend time in these structures because it's a complete marvel, right? Um, Technology has been made that allows for people reserves of air so that the races that haven't adapted aquatic life can survive there for some level of time. It's a trading hub, a central cultural hub, uh, kind of centrally located there, and they've got a lot on uh, boat rides, tradeways, waterways built above it to kind of facilitate all of that cool stuff, and they've got a lot of houses above the water, which really Bora Bora.
A little
Um,
bit, yeah.
and like I'd like to go. It seems very soothing and peaceful.
Yes. And it's that fun mix of like the soothing, peaceful energy of like these small coastal towns mixed with the well to do excitement of like other islands, like other boardwalk cities like San Francisco. I mean, I live in Chicago. Chicago's
As a
technically kind of an island, like Navy Pier. The the Clownfish Carnival of Maritol is kind of my love letter to Navy Pier, which is just like I remember when I was 4 years old driving by, being like, "That's so cool." And as I grow older, I'm kind of like, okay,
you're
but
like
like
you're like let's not go anywhere near then.
right. But like when I was a kid, that childish excitement of driving by and seeing this huge Ferris wheel light up at night, it felt like it was big and important. And that magic of it was what I wanted to
I
capture in the boardwalks of Maritol.
I still do love the conservatory at Navy Pier though. It's like a hidden gem.
Honestly.
I mean, it's not the Garfield Park Conservatory, but it'll do. Chicago has some amazing conservatories if you haven't,
Yeah, it's
by the way,
very cool.
everybody.
Hmm.
Nobody thinks about that. It also has Lake Michigan. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I like big fan. Water. There's a body of water. I love it. And then there's Shardelia.
Yes, I believe that's Crow's favorite city state because it is the city state of crystals and stone. It is, while there are parts of Shardelia built out of it, the
Mhm.
main city itself is built inside a mountain. And that's, your very high fantasy dwarven city energy. Except here it's full crystalline, and there's this big focus on like the balance, like the weird balance of innovation and sincerity to nature kind of hits this weird tension point in Shardelia, which is really fun to deal with because Shardelia, they're miners. That's how they get these raw magical ores and everything, but like that's a limited resource. So the people of Shardelia have to ask these questions. And that's a really fun thing for people who enter the city to dig into a bit. Like, how do they balance protecting the land and also providing the rest of Wyldrvir with these important materials?
And is there some way that they can like innovate? Because like as we've real world determined, like a lot of these crystals and minerals and everything, like you can come up with ways to force them to grow, you know, not
Right,
not naturally.
right.
Lab created stuff. So like, that could be like a big thing that they're like, okay, it's an important mineral, but like how do we of it while also providing the resource?
Especially now with the benefit of magic, that's another thing that they can use to their advantage as well.
Yeah, but I imagine the laws of magic or something, laws of alchemy, can't create something from nothing.
No, probably not. No, it looks like it looks like stone mages can just pull up stones from nowhere, but it's probably more rapid growth of geodes that already exist or something. Everything ties back to nature.
Yeah, we're just giving it a little encouragement.
Exactly.
Hi, hello. I know you're not going to be ready for another 20 years, but I could kind of use your help now. If you could just,
Right.
thanks.
Yep. Yeah. I need to be real big to be wall sized in like 30 seconds. I rolled a nat 20, so let's go.
Nice. So you say that you rolled a nat 20. So is it a D20 basis?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, everything in Wyldrvir requires a d20 to roll, because that's very
It's
useful
the
to
fun
understand.
die.
Yeah, it's the one. But it does use all of the other dice through your attributes,
Hmm.
meaning while an at 20 is still a crit, you're going to be looking at a little bit of higher numbers with Wyldrvir because instead of having static bonuses that grow, when you roll an attribute, you roll a d20 and one of the other dice that you've linked to that attribute. So when you make a character, you pick from 12 to 4 and you pick five like attributes, five different things your character can do, ranging from the D12, which is their best thing, the thing they're known for, their really good skill, and the D4 is the thing they're just starting to pick up.
Okay.
And you grow these with time, they develop with time. 12 is kind of where they max out. But if you're using your best ability, you're using a D20 and a D12 and adding those two numbers to see how success goes.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And, there's a lot of really good stuff going on here. So, kind of stepping away a little bit from like the specifics of the game itself, I want to kind of step back a little bit into like the overarching picture. Like, aside from having started out with like streaming and watching actual, where did you and Crow really draw the inspiration from for this? Obviously, you could see some of it as we discussed. There's some parallels to like some of your favorite real world places. Um, but like there's a lot going on here. Like magic, your peoples, your you know, just the way the society functions, everything. You have other like inspirational sources, like um, literature, movies, other pop culture things, other games, even.
yeah. So Wyldrvir is a massive hodgepodge of things, and I think if I tried to list everything, we'd be here all night. But I'll just list a couple of my like biggest inspirations. I joked that the journey of Wyldrvir is a big big kind of Pokemon-esque setup.
Hmm.
Uh, and honestly, that was my first hyperfixation. Grew up with that series as a kid, you know. So like the magical creatures of Wyldrvir are also my love letter, you know. Uh, it's a lot of fun. I love making creature design, and I think that's because 6-year-old me wanted to make his own Pokemon, you know. uh, but that childish wonder came back. Honestly, as hard, I feel like with Wildivir, a lot of it is things that captured the imagination when I was small,
Hmm.
you know, and when Crow was small. Like Crow pulled up Red Rock, and I pulled up like Navy Pier. Like it was just when we made Wildivir, we were in the throes of summer 2020, and I remember the conversation that led to this world's creation opened with, I believe Crow said point blank, "I wish I could go hiking." And something about that statement of "I wish I could go hiking" just built on that. Them and I started trading nostalgia from our pasts, you know, and all of that just kind of combined itself into just a world built out of our childhood favorites. Like when I was a kid, I read the Narnia books, so a lot of the like overt fantasy kind of comes from there, you know, the like I don't want to say childish, but the very like whimsical fantasy, kind of comes from there. These beavers talk, don't question it, you know, that kind of thing. Um, it was just sort of a love letter to the things we wished we could see and the stuff we grew up with, really.
Yeah, and that kind of makes sense. And especially as you kind of, couched it as like being travelers going throughout the world and everything. And really, that's what we all do. I mean, isn't that what we all dream of doing, even in this world? I just want to travel and see the world and not have to worry about like paying bills.
Right, exactly.
That's the dream. Um, and it man is that's the dream. Simple thing. So hard to attain. And like that's what makes independent. Like that's the thing. That's the thing that you do is you just travel, you go, you see, experience, and like again, that's the adventure. That's the fun. That's the whole quest. Go on your life's adventure,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just fun, beautiful, simple. Um, and so you know you mentioned also pre-show that you've got some other projects that you're working on where you've kind of got to stretch your imagination a little bit. You've got an actual play that you're working on where you get to kind of blend in a bunch of different genres. So you're not just stuck to typical, high fantasy stuff. So a parallel to anywhere, right?
Yes.
Do you want to go talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Parallel to Anywhere is that the best way to describe it is that project that hits you at 3 in the morning and you go, someone should do that. Not me, but someone. And then you wake up 2 days later and you're like, oh, it's gotta be me, isn't
Uh,
it? Yeah. No one's gonna have this idea. And honestly, what had happened was that last year, because this was early 2021 dream of mine, and all throughout 2020, I had gotten the amazing chance, and genuinely, I'm so thankful for it, to guest DM on so many podcasts and so many streams, playing Wyldrvir with folks, and I'd made a lot of really cool friends that way. And I kind of sat there thinking about like, man, it'd be really cool to like do something with that connective element because I had learned that year how interconnected this whole community really is.
right.
And as much as
My favorite thing about the community.
it yeah, and it's probably it is something that I was like, why has no one like that I'd seen really like built a whole premise on that? You know what I mean? Like use that as its wellspring of material. And thus began the adventures of Trevor Vantros, my my chronomancer half elf who uh, is in the middle of a mage academy, uh, steals an equipment device for a project, and just device malfunctions. And now him and his best friend are trying to figure out how to get him home from throughout the multiverse and time and space itself. And that becomes a very good springboard to have almost every episode be a crossover with another stream, another podcast, another world, another group of people telling their stories who uh, get a fleeting encounter with this lost child from the multiverse. And, uh, you know, he's there to help them out with the problem of the day. And then before the day's up, he's gone somewhere else. And that's how the story goes, and you just kind of follow this one character as they grow through these different stories.
And I think it's fun having a character like that where I just want to put them in all of the things and see like how they interact with all these different worlds and um people, and you kind of take them along because you know you build someone character and you're like, okay, we're gonna play this Tolkien-esque fantasy thing, really good at that, and then someone's like, we're gonna play a cyberpunk thing, and you're like, cyberpunk.
Right, yeah. uh yeah, that's it's one of the most fun things about this character, honestly, is that uh the when I wrote a few of the episodes of Parallels Anywhere are actually going to be fully scripted,
Okay,
some by myself and some by some amazing other talent.
so it's a
um
little bit of a mixture of like actual play and scripted play.
yes, there's a it's 90% actual play with a couple scripted episodes here and there to refocus the main story back on the getting home part, which is kind of difficult to do in crossovers. Rather than making another DM learn this whole project's lore, you know what I mean?
Right.
um and I think the the very simple premise Treff was built on was he is a time traveler or and a person who gets lost in the multiverse who needs to learn that he has time. He's someone who's trying to grow up too fast and is a bit impulsive, bit rash, kind of in the like throes of throw myself at the problem and I'll figure it out. Uh, and that comes from this feeling of he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do with himself. And I set him in a fantasy academy because God, that was a personal feeling of mine at the time. Uh, and I liked the idea that he gets to meet a bunch of different people from a bunch of different points in time and places who all are figuring themselves out.
Yeah.
And like, because at the end of the day, we all are, right? And that's, I don't know, the idea of telling a very heartfelt idea, such as like having such a heartfelt core in such a wild, fantastical, genre spanning ride was something that I thought was so cool and had to make happen immediately.
And I think it's kind of like the joy of like being involved with the community at large is that like you get to have all of these different whether it be like with one character or with um your shelf full of characters. I don't know anyone who has that.
Mm,
I'm just gonna close the cabinet over. Uh,
mhm,
but you get to go out there and you get to be invited to participate in these things. And not only do you get to have this joy of just being a part of these you also learn so much. Allows you to kind of grow as a creator and to see like all of these you're like, gosh, now I want to go back and add that into my world and do like expansion, which uh I know we just done the anniversary edition of World of Wyldrvir, but uh I imagine the next thing expansion. No pressure, no
oh,
pressure.
we've made our share. We've made a couple.
Well,
And that
more.
yes. So really quickly, the anniversary edition is the only one that's made it to like full itch ready.
Hmm.
Uh, and our plan is to slowly work. our other expansions to be at that state. Um, because when we wrote Wyldrvir in 2020, we wrote it on a Google Doc, and for the first year of that game's existence, how people played it was following a Google Drive link. That was how people got the game, and
And you could still do that.
yeah, you could still do that. Yep.
The beautiful, pretty version is on itch and Drive Through RPG. I just posted the Drive Through link.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted. I'll post it in a second. But if you want to play it on from Google for free, uh, do it.
That is an
Um,
option. Yep.
yeah, that link is available both on the card site and on the drive-through link, so you can find that easily.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, B, you and Crow want people to not worry about you know money and paying for it. You want people to share in your 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 pride and joy, your baby. This is your baby.
Yeah, and eventually we want to work out some of like we've been talking about getting the Halloween one ready for a nice itch thing soon because there is a Halloween expansion that we made. The
Spooky, but happy spook.
it was honestly one of the most fun things about writing the expansions for Wyldrvir were taking because Wyldrvir proper is a lot of high fantasy tropes put through this like dare I say Saturday morning cartoon like filter. Uh, the best part about the expansions was taking like other tropes from other genres and putting them through that same filter.
Oh gosh,
Like,
I miss Saturday morning. Not a thing.
no, it's
It
not.
should be.
Yeah, I the Halloween one was a lot of fun because we got to jump from doing like elves and wizards and things like that to all right in the same space sharing a home with these like remade versions of this. What does that make a vampire? What does that make a werewolf? What do these typically horror beasts of the night look like in this safe world? And what does that change about the world proper? And that's my favorite part about writing for Wyldrvir now
Yeah.
is like taking these.
Rather than being monsters, they just they have an affliction, and it's
Yeah, it's something like that. There's different things for different tropes, right? But my favorite stuff about writing Wyldrvir from here on out has been taking a genre that doesn't have that bright, cheery Saturday morning cartoony remake and spinning it to fit this world, you know? Uh, we've done a Halloween style of book. We've done like a very lost in the snow tundra kind of book for the holidays. Um, Pirates and the deep seas and
so pirates have been done as happy and
pirates.
cheery, and
Yeah,
it's so much fun to do like happy cheery. Yo ho ho! I'm still in your stuff, but it's fine.
but it's fine. Yeah, and the one we're about to put out, I think Wednesday, takes a lot of tropes from the like Mage Academy, like fantasy high school kind of energy, and
Okay.
throws it into a world where no one really knows what magic is yet. And so the fun of the Mage Academy of Wyldrvir is no one knows what they're doing. They've built this system that will one day work, but right now it's way more labs and open testing than a traditional school
And we're
setting.
learning as we go. Learn as we go,
Exactly.
everyone.
Teachers and students alike are going out on the field and figuring stuff out. It's almost more of a big old think tank of magical ideas than traditional school. And
But you still get to do some of the fun school trappings, and
exactly.
the wizarding school. Oh boy, does that coincide well with the next uh D&D release, the Strixhaven.
Oh my,
Uh,
again, so Magic Nerd, I got into Strixhaven when it was the card set.
yeah,
Uh, Prismari was my school, Red Blue was my favorite color pairing.
that's okay. I forgive
I
you.
uh, my first set was Guilds of Ravnica, and I saw big red blue dragon and went and never looked back. So
uh, I'm a Boros girl at
no, that's okay.
heart.
That's okay. Hey, we share red. We share red.
Yeah,
Uh,
red, because sometimes you just need to like, I need this problem to go away now.
now. Oh, you have no idea. Everyone I play with is either Orzov or Gruul, and it's or Bazorius, and oh I am a spell slinger in a world of control. It's the worst. um, that is my play group. But the Mage Academy has that. One of the races in the Mage Academy is the weird because I saw the Is It Weirds in Guilds of Ravnica and was like, that's really cool. I want it, you know. And we had the created, which were like this world's Warforged, and I was like, I want more autonomous creation races. That's
Mm-hmm.
really fun.
Yeah.
More machines, more like variants of machines.
It's them
Uh,
tinkerers who were just like, whoops, I accidentally
Made
an
life.
automaton.
Yep,
Whoopsie.
it's alive now and has a personality and a soul.
It's a real
The,
person.
yeah,
Just
he's
looks.
my. I guess he's my brother now. you know.
I've got a Demir fan else with me.
I see. But that's the fun, and yeah,
Hmm.
I got into Strixhaven when that was I tiny funny tangent.
Oh yeah.
Um, I I saw the setting right,
Hmm.
and I remember thinking to myself, man, this would be a really fun place to set a D&D campaign. And I got a bunch of my friends together and I was showing them the art from like the online articles and the card art because the artists cannot, do their prints and everything, and that's so cool. uh but I was like, yeah, and they were getting all my friends hyped for it, and I went back to the guild master's guide and saw that they did the guilds as backgrounds.
Hmm.
So I wrote backgrounds for the 5 colleges, and I have it on a Google Doc. And
Oh.
the last edit was May 22nd. And I remember I finished in like a day because I had all these ideas and I had to get them down. And I wrote the 5 colleges out. Uh,
I guess Lorehold is my Strixhaven one.
yeah, yeah. And so like I did all of that. I was so excited. I built them as backgrounds. I even made like spells based on the instants and sorceries of the deck because Magecraft it was the big mechanic. And I was like, yeah, this is so cool. I can't wait to show my friends. Uh I missed the Planeswalker articles when they existed for like Ixalan and Amonkhet. I was like, this kind of like that. Oh, it's so cool. I'm really excited to share this with people. And lo and behold, I think like that weekend was the big announcement of Curriculum of Chaos. And I looked at this like 10-15 page Google Doc I'd written and was just like, oh. I guess Wizards had the same idea that it would be a really good D&D setting. And now it's a book. and
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Let's see, when did they announce that? It was back in like May, June, somewhere around there.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. June.
Uh
It was June. Yeah.
June. Yeah, the last edit I
The beginning of June. So right after
yeah,
you finished your.
right after, yeah, May 22nd was the last edit I made on the thing. And it was one of those moments of like I was excited because hey, apparently I share a brain cell with the people over at Wizards, right?
I gotta
Like,
tell me about it.
and then at the same time, I was like, I spent a weekend on this. I was gonna post this places.
But you still
I
can.
still can, but I just remember that like initial like
It'll be even
and
better if you love Strixhaven and you want more similar content.
yeah, exactly.
Head over to
Uh,
Itch and buy this.
Yeah, exactly. I the funniest part to me was that like I was like, okay, well, you know what? I made these as backgrounds. It's probably what they're gonna do because it's what they did for the guilds and the guild masters guide, right? Like, okay, we'll see what happens, right?
Right.
Then the UA comes out and they're like subclasses that can go on multiple classes, and I'm just sitting there like, no, I like my Google Doc better. It was cool. It was a cool concept, but I saw the backlash to it, and I was like, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I don't know that that's how it'll end up
I've
because
heard that it's becoming feats. I heard
I don't
some.
know. I mean, we'll see.
We'll see soon, but I was excited, and I just remember like I remember showing it to that group of people I'd gotten together to play, and I was like, "Do you guys want to try these?" And I showed them the like subclasses, and they were like, "No." Yeah, it was a cool idea. I don't know if I don't, maybe that's the thing. I am a weird fanatic of Unearthed Arcana because of that. Like weird ideas that may need another pass, but like there's such a fun insight into people's writing process.
Right? And that's kind of, how it happened.
Yeah.
Um and like I don't know. Unearthed Arcana, like I've kind of back and forth on it. Um because like some of the stuff is great. But on the other hand, like some of it's just like oh, don't make this don't no, don't no, don't do this.
Yeah. I'm with you, but at the same time, I'm with you about individual articles, but on the whole, maybe it's because
Oh, I
I'm someone.
love like weird new stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that it exists. I
Yeah.
don't. I can't say I love every article they put out, but I love that the concept of it is a thing that people do.
But and I think it's necessary too, right? Because like the whole
Yeah.
purpose of it is like we want to put these weird ideas in front of a lot of people and see like do they work?
Do you like it? Yeah, exactly.
Not even like do you like it, but like do they work? Because
Right,
like
exactly.
because like a lot of times like you put it out there and people are like, "Man, this is broken." They're like,
Right.
"Okay, all right, we got to back to the drawing."
Yeah.
Which okay, let's your hero like there are some magic cards that could have done with some Unearthed Arcana, like in the Spirit Dragon.
Yeah.
Somebody could have told you before you printed that this card is broken,
Someone could have, but
but nobody did.
nobody. You know what? I love that character. He's my boy as a character. His card hurts a
For the
lot.
longest time playing Arena, like every time it showed up, I'm like, I'm gonna play this out, but I already know that I've lost.
Yeah, exactly. I
I didn't build my deck specifically to shut down Ugin, and therefore
therefore I'm done. Yep. He's uh
it's just
someone.
like hit you for three each turn.
Yeah, as someone who loved the character and loves the storytelling that Magic does, like one of my campaigns I'm playing with friends right now that's not recorded or anything is a Planeswalker themed campaign. Uh, I
I'm gonna go
it
back to
just
the Brothers' War.
I'm excited for that. That's coming soon. I'm so excited for that. The I'm happy we're back. I know I'm happy we're back on Innistrad. Honestly, like
I like Innistrad. I
yeah.
did the first time they did Innistrad. I This is gonna come as a little shock to you. I really like the artwork for Liliana.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't like her aesthetic. Why do you ask?
No, no. What? There's a reason Witherbloom won the cup in Amarita.
Oh my god, they're blue. Woo!
Uh,
Yeah. Um.
we need to. Okay, so apparently we need to start a magic theme show. That's what I'm picking up.
Oh boy. I mean, with the crossovers that they've been doing, though, definitely an audience there, and especially like for someone who knows a lot of lore. Like, I know we've gotten completely off that
Completely off.
topic, but
Dude,
this is a
it's
great
fine.
topic, anyways. But like, yeah, there is like, there's so much story and depth and everything. You definitely take that and make like, I mean, obviously they're doing the crossovers with like the core stuff, but like,
Right.
hello, um, we need more like Jace being a absolutely hopeless at romance kind of guy.
Oh
You
god, it's
know,
so funny. It's so
you
funny.
know, more of Chandra being like a fiery romantic. Because okay, let's face it, like temper, but like she's heart.
Look, we're
Um,
all mad about what Weissman did in War of the Spark. We can talk. It, we're all mad about it.
I
It's
don't,
fine.
I don't, I don't think that happened. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
You know what? It was the sequel book that no one asked for, so it's fine. We can throw it
I'm not.
away.
I don't.
It doesn't count.
I don't think that happened.
Uh-uh.
Can't remember it.
No clue what we're
Must
talking
must
about.
not have.
Nope.
But
Uh,
but yeah, like going back to like the deep stories of some of those, like
the Ixalan storybooks were the Ixalan story articles. I loved those.
we gotta go even further back and like some of the old novel trilogies and sets
Yeah.
and stuff. Like obviously the Artifact series back in the Brothers' War with like
Hmm.
Dominaria and Phyrexia, and how that just like went to total shit.
Oh yeah, yeah. I watched a video about Yawgmoth by I think Spice 8 Rack, and oh, that video was so cool to listen to.
Yawgmoth is like the literal worst.
Oh yeah, horrible person, very well written bad guy. Horrible, horrible person though.
There's never been like a magic character that I instantly hated quite so much. I'm like, you need to just like die in a fire, but I don't think a fire would kill you. So like,
The his grave now makes swamp black mana just by being the place where he died. Like that, if anything tells you how bad of a dude he was, the place where he is buried just leaks black magic.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what
No,
it is.
you know, but there's like so many interesting stories that like not not only have people only recently in the last 5 or 6 years really gotten into D&D. Like there's a lot of people that have only gotten into magic in the more recent years. Magic has been happening since
Forever.
uh,
The 25 years plus. Mhm. We're coming on 30 soon, right?
yes.
Yeah, I think that's why we're doing Brothers War. It's
Yes,
like
as
it's
the
the
anniversary.
anniversary. Yeah.
Um
I knew this, but I've
and
forgotten.
let's see. Um Alpha was 93. Yeah. Yeah, I was right. I was like, it's slightly less old than my sister.
uh
Uh,
there's so many cool stories though. I
but
agree.
yeah,
And
you could take those and like, you've got the main characters and everything, but you could build so many interesting stories and like play groups around that, especially using some of the mechanics that they set up in like Guilds of Ravnica and that I'm sure they're gonna set up in Strixhaven. Like
yeah.
there are, actual players begging to
Yeah.
be big.
Honestly, I if anyone knows about Planeswalker themed actual plays, just send me the link to their like
We can
page.
watch it and
Yeah,
maybe and
because
maybe and maybe call them up.
yeah,
Hey, have some ideas.
yeah, no, let me in. Oh my god, it's so cool. And like be it and my favorite thing is how interconnected that world and story is, that even stuff like from the Brothers War and like the mending of Dominaria is something that's still felt
Hmm.
now.
And,
Like
and they did an excellent job with like the multiverse as a whole. When cards became a thing,
right,
okay,
right,
and it's just following that story from like beginning to not definitely not end because we have that, but
the
like current
current.
point,
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna say it's flawless execution, but like it's
No,
very, very well done. And when they do mess it up, that book that we won't talk about,
it's fine.
like they most of the time recognize that like, oh yeah, that was
Not a good plan.
didn't land. Execution,
No,
execution was rough.
no. The fact we got story articles back is a good sign that they know that they didn't do great.
Hmm. And generally are able to save face there and fix it
Yeah,
and get the story back on track. And
yeah.
like I like playing Magic, but I love the story.
Oh, yeah. I. Oh God, I remember my favorite moment, just in general about Magic and its story, that I got to have with my friends was they were on Arena, they were playing through something, and I believe it was the first time one of my friends saw, because they jumped in during Strixhaven with me. I've been playing since Guilds, but they jumped in around Strixhaven. So they missed some stuff.
I played for a while and then stopped and then
Yeah.
started playing and like stopped
Mm,
in like third and picked it up again last year.
yeah.
Um I think started right before New Zendikar.
No, that's a good set to jump in because
Oh,
that's
I Zendikar was my I loved it. It was so
Landfall
good.
is such a good mechanic. Anyway, but
The original Zendikar, me, Hedron crabs, sealed tournaments. I'm sorry
yes.
to anybody who played against me. I'm not sorry. I didn't
My
even like to play blue, but because like Landfall and like Hedron crab, and now it's I forgot what the new crab was, but equally awful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. My
Um,
friend
Me and my
I,
crabby friends are coming to kill you. And by kill you, I mean get rid of all your cards.
yeah, Mel. My favorite moment though was the first time someone had seen, I think I forgot what they ventured into, but they saw someone play Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh from Amonkhet. And it's a nasty planeswalker, but I remember them asking me, "Hey, who's this dude?" And I was just like, "Oh, buddy, how
Uh,
much time you got?"
uh, ah, yes, the more appropriately named ruined crab.
Yes, yes. But
Um,
they looked at Bolus, was like, "Hey, B, who's this guy?" And I just remember on call being, "How much time you got?"
yeah. Alright. Well, yeah, I'm sure we could go on and on about our love of various magic lore and everything. We have actually reached the end of our time.
Oh no.
So, we'll have to pick this up again some other time.
Yes.
But it has been positively delightful having you on. Um, weird. So, I have a couple of keys for Wyldrvir that I'm going to give away on Twitter, and as well as the giveaway well beyond the website. So, if you missed all those or couldn't, about it, it.
Yeah.
Um, but it was positively delightful chatting with you. I appreciate you so much taking the time to be on the show and wax poetic about random things and how lore
Um
is just the
we
best.
it's so good. I am if you ever want to talk magic lore again, I am down. uh
We'll have to do a different show. This is a show. But
we'll
yeah,
figure something out. Yeah.
yeah. And thank you everyone for tuning in. I have some oops, let me throw my ring light at the keyboard. I have some exciting guests lined up for the upcoming future. Um, Next week, we've got a pre-recorded session that I recorded today, actually, so it's great. Trust me. We'll be talking to Casper and Martin Kunstrup from AL Nordic about their Dungeon Craft trilogy, what it's
Ooh,
like to work with the AL Nordic group, who are badass on like their release schedule. They did 21, although 20, and you'll understand why. Adventures for the last season, and then we're going to chat with Highlander about some indie games, and then we're going to have Julian Bell of Darkvale Studios talking about the currently running Darkvale Kickstarter campaign, which this whole thing we talked about with like having a bunch of genres inside of one game. Yeah, it does that, and it's
that's
cool.
real
It's
cool.
just as
That's
cool.
real cool.
And then I've got a bunch of other people lined up, and I've managed to lose the list that I have that has all the dates on it. October, I'm traveling uh a lot, uh, practically every weekend, so I have pre-recorded
Mm.
a lot of these. So I'll be on some of them, not at home. Looking forward to getting all of those out there for you. They have amazing conversations. And then we'll get back to kind of normal live sessions. We get into November, assuming I don't continue to book myself up. Um, keep inviting me to do stuff.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm going to a magic thing in November. I'll be in
Oh my gosh,
Vegas. I'll be in
nice. Cool.
Vegas for the shoot. I forget the name of it. But the weekend of the 19th, 20th, 21st for the magic thing there at the Vegas Convention. So if you talk magic and you happen to be there, we'll do lore.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll play. I don't know. Maybe we'll
Maybe
just
we'll
talk. Who knows? Um,
that's the curse.
yeah. But until we get to all of that, that is it for this episode. Wait, no, I missed a section. B.
Yes.
Tell everyone where they can find you online and where they can find your stuff.
Yeah. Real quick. At Wyldrvir on Twitter is the best place to go for everything. The link to the card is in its profile. It'll also be here. And we have a podcast for the World of Wyldrvir. Parallel to Anywhere is a limited show, so we're not putting anything out until all the episodes are done. We're looking to have episode 1 going around December, which is super exciting. But you can follow the progress on at Parallel to Anywhere on Twitter.
All right. I almost forgot. And as always, you can find me at Jenny Loveday on all the things. worldofwyldrvir.com to catch up on who's been on the show and where to find their links and stuff in case you just like forgot where to find that cool thing that you. All right, and this time for real.
Yeah.
That's it for this episode of the Designer's Den. Until next time, everyone.
Bye.